What's up everybody, George T from the Wagon here. So last week we spent at Busted by the Bridge, and while I was there, Resto Bus was offering a new set of Safari seals, and that's what this week's video is. Upgraded Safari window seals. So I opted for front seals, and I have a rear Safari as well. So on this one, I ended up getting a large back window one. So I'm going to come through here, and I've cleaned this already. We've already vacuumed out this ledge and then gave it a good wipe down. We're going to be putting a new seal there, so you don't want to put it over dirt. We're going to start in the center, and you can find center by the number of bolts that you have or screws holding in your hinge. Go to the center one. That's where you're going to put the top seam as we're applying the new seal in there. Make sure you already have it around your two exterior hinges. This is bigger than what's normally provided by Wolfgang or Creative or any of these guys. So it slips on really easy, and it slips on well. It's also a bigger seal. Be aware of that when you're putting it in. See, I'm doing the same method I did on my video where I'm trying to preload the corners. Says that you do not need to cut it and to tuck the entire amount in there. I think I'm gonna have to loosen up my dash hinges. They are close. Rookie mistake there. Just like in my video, there is plenty left over. A lot more than I was thinking. So I'm going to come down here. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm really loading up the seal as I'm installing it. Really bringing it in to the bus. There I'm making sure I line up my seam really well. This right here is like a little paintless hammer when you do body work and you're not trying to ruin. I notice where the hardware is, the seal is a little bunched up, so I'm making sure that it gets in there. Noticing this is pulling away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this side down, that side a little bit of length, and then reload that side in there. Make it much more preloaded than it was. That worked out much better. So I used to be able to see daylight out of these corners. So we actually went and moved my window frame back a little bit because it was poorly installed the first time. But I can see right there that that's a world of difference. That's a lot bigger seal. Yeah, it's filling that entire corner now. If you got Wolfgangs, you know they got pore fitment in the corners, and this is touching seal all the way around. All right, we're basically gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm gonna put my latch plates back in place. So it's a slightly bigger seal, and you really notice it like on that latch plate and on my pivot points. It does fit on the pivot points nicely. My latch plates are going to be a stretch for that guy. So this is our old Wolfgang seal. And you see it's pulled away from the corners, ill-fitting. And this is, like I said, from install. I'm not blaming Wolfgang for that. But even then, you see that is like smashed and compressed, and it still doesn't make it to the edge. This isn't even smashed yet, and the edge is covered. Now look at the shape of that too, how smooth that is. And we've got those multiple lips on here. And those little differences, like that little lip right there, are what's going to make the difference of hopefully not having a screeching weasel next to me the entire time while I'm driving. So we got those nice and snug to the corners, if you see that. And even these up here, you can see there's a gap between the seal and the corner. So I'm going to drop this one down. I'm going to drop this one down. All right, now look at that corner there, how much coverage there is, and it's actually touching the window frame itself. Here, we're not touching the body, but we are touching the window frame. And I don't have it latched, but you can see it's not compressing that seal an awful lot up there. That right there, we're digging into it a little bit. You can actually see compression at that point right there. So I got plenty of footage of me driving on the freeway with a super loud noise in the background. We'll do another run once we get these seals installed and see how much it killed that noise. It's $45 for this front seal and $45 for the back seal. The one in the back is the large one. So this is made for large back window. I got the small one. All it's gonna take is for me to cut it. I'll leave, like I did on my video, an extra inch or so, and we'll work it in around that frame. Remove it, clean it, install the new one. I did not cut their seal. It did fit once you work it in all the corners. We'll get this one done time lapse, then we'll move over to the back window. Okay, so there it is for the fronts. I've got really nice preload in all my corners, so it's really tight up against the body. Truth be told, on everything, we just reinstalled my top bar, my top hinge on the Safaris to get a much better alignment on it. So I'm really hoping that that noise is gone, considering how much work we just put into that. Just looking at all of our trouble points, the uppers here, I have excellent seal coverage. I cannot see into my bus anymore. I'm super optimistic that this is gonna help. These are the next source, and I've tried multiple ways to get rid of that howling, and I'm thinking a very, very fine foam or felt along some of these edges will do it. That's what they do in more modern cars. All the rubbers are like felt covered to help dissipate that wind noise. Both windows look a world better. They're installed much nicer to the body now, so I'm very happy with the way everything looks and feels on that reveal. Super stoked on that. A couple of videos ago, we did the wiper installs, and for this install, I laid both of my wipers down on the pivots. Put those dudes back on the one-eyed duck, and our front Safari rubber install is complete onto the rear. So here's the Wolfgang seal, and you can see how much that thing has shrunk. This thing's been in my bus. It's got to be getting close to 10 years, but it's so far from the corners, and I did not pull this down yet. If you look there, look at that big gap it has there as well. So we're going to be replacing this one out. This one's going to be a little more straightforward. Just pull it out, wipe it down, vacuum clean it, and replace it. I'm not going to adjust this. If you have a rear Safari, you know these things are pretty much when you're stopped. If you try to open this thing while you're driving, all that right there makes it right into the bus and it'll choke you out. So having a good seal on this is going to help as well, because I do sometimes get exhaust smell coming in the car, and I'll guarantee it's from that. I mean, look at that. It's not even on the corner anymore. All right, let's get this out of here and get the new seal in. This was for the big seal. This would be like for your big 66. So you see how much extra there is, because that's my halfway point. I could dang near do another window with it. So I've made sure that my corners are really preloaded, meaning I'm pushing into the corner this way as I'm loading the rubber in, making sure that it's being forced into a certain amount of space. I got my line right here. I'm gonna cut my rubber about a ½ inch longer than my ending spot. And we're gonna force the remainder of that in that space. All right, there we go. So about that ½ inch extra works out. All I did is I went back on this side and started doing a little more forcing on there. That gives me confidence that this thing is not going to shrink. And even if it does, it's so preloaded in there, it will fit in that space still. Super stoked about this. You can already see the fit is so much nicer. But just looking at that, that looks a world better. But I can see now that there's so much seal in there, I'm super confident that this is no longer going to smell like exhaust. That's it. We're going to go over some of the differences of the rubber real quick. So this is the new seal that we've installed, and this is the old one. I understand this is old, so that's compressed, so that would have been taller. But there's a difference even in that seal. These two raised points right here are going to make a better seal up against the frame of the Safari. And now let's look at this here. We have one right there. It's hard to see because it's old and smashed down, but there's one of these little tangs that you see here, and that's it. That's all that's present there. Whereas we have one there to match that one. And then on this side, we have three of them to prevent any water from coming inside. So this is one of the biggest differences here is I can't see daylight outside of my corners anymore, where before I could. The seal was a mile away from it. And that seal is right up on it. See? When I hit about 55, you really hear the windows. So we're gonna jump on the freeway and head to get some lunch. And we'll see how much of a difference it is. Difference. Like I said, we're still going to get it from the side windows, but that's a huge drop. There's a huge drop in sound. We're at 80 miles an hour now. You hear it instantly as soon as I shut that. But I don't feel it around my Safari corners. All that's coming from this side window. I'd say success on that install. I'm gonna try and put out content every week this year. Thanks for watching, guys. All right, these are those new seals, by the way. My bus has been getting rained on all morning. We don't have the water trails coming in like we used to. You can see it's getting dumped on. We're not getting those water trails. So these are the Butty Bits seals available from Retro Bus. Get you some.